Hello, this is Eldeneron, and today, instead of reviewing an actual game, I'm going to be reviewing Apple Arcade itself. Now, to fully review Apple Arcade, I'll first have to mention the graphics involved in rendering the Apple Arcade page. As you see here, at least in this screen, which is an iPhone 6s Plus, you see that it is like an 80 to 20 ratio. Upon when you first load it, you see this 80% of the screen is covered by an image. Now, this might be different on newer iPhones, especially after the iPhone X or iPhone 10, where they got rid of the upper top bezel type thing. So, what I'm assuming is that when you launch Apple Arcade, this will flood into the corners. I don't own any phone after the iPhone X, so I can't say from experience. But that's what I'm assuming they're probably going to do. And they'll probably have the Apple Arcade padding just a little bit lower, so as not to have your profile in what I would call the notch region. But that's enough of design. Let's go on to the layout. As you can see, this is very similar to the Today page of Apple's App Store. However, there's several big differences. For instance, these are all video games. And also, they're all recommended in a very clear-cut way. They seem to be curated almost. They even give you videos for some new arrivals, which is nice. And of course, Apple had the people behind Frogger on stage when they presented this, so obviously they're going to get their own little banner here. They've got a personalized section. And by the way, if you want me to review any of these, just leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to get to it soon. They've got a section called Daily Play, which is what I'm assuming to be their recommendation for, their daily recommendation for a new game. And they've got their only on arcade exclusives, like Cricket through the, or Card of Darkness, where the cards fall, Way of the Turtle. And some of these games, they do look good. They have very nice graphics. Some of them very minimalistic, like this one's very minimalistic. Some of them a little bit more intricate with a little bit of retro style. You might remember that one from the last video. Some of them a little bit higher graphics. Overall, in terms of style, there's definitely a lot of variation that you'll see on Apple Arcade, which is a good thing. And of course, they've got this large section here. And I'm assuming Hey New Players, like that's their just based on the ones I've seen here, I'm assuming they take their most downloaded games and they put them here as recommendations for people new to Apple Arcade. And it's really something to appreciate the graphics behind this. As most things with Apple, they focus a lot on the design, and it comes out beautifully, especially taking the colors from the cards and using them to color the background. It's just something that you can only hope Apple kind of rubs off onto other companies such as Google. And Google has their own thing. They have their own service now called Play Pass, which is competitively priced to be $5, just as Apple's service is around $5. And Play Pass, though, what I find to be the main difference is that Play Pass includes freemium applications, such as note-taking applications or apps designed for managing your day. Where normally you would pay a monthly subscription to those apps Play Pass seems to be offering them for free if they're included in the Play Pass type of curated list of apps. But enough of that. Let's get back to the review of Apple Arcade. Right here, you've got your categories, which include stuff like puzzles for beginners, action games, multiplayer, family, and let's just jump into strategy, just to show you how it looks like if you were to press through this. You get a very clear list of action games. One thing that I wish they would have is a search bar. I really don't think that you would need one at this point, just because of how few games there are in each section where they can easily be curated just like that. However, I feel like if Apple Arcade is to progress, I feel that's something where a search bar will be needed at some point, or at least better personalized recommendations. Now let's view all the games. Now, what I noticed about Apple Arcade is that it seems to just be curated games Apple is letting into their Apple Arcade partnership or Apple Arcade section, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of games, and the games that there are seem to be from either indie studios with somewhat of a track record releasing games, or established studios that have consistently released games. So essentially what I'm saying is very commercialized versus very indie type of games, and that's not a bad thing. Indie games are good, but also I feel like the way that it's designed right now, Apple is trying to prevent other developers from entering Apple Arcade. Essentially, Apple is gatekeeping Apple Arcade, if that makes sense. And it makes sense to do so, because obviously if you're paying a premium, Apple wants to make sure whatever you download is quality. Now, they do have a section for video games right here. As you can see, it's more cluttered and more I wouldn't say disorganized, because it's very organized, but it's more cluttered and it's more compact compared to Apple Arcade. And that could speak to what I was saying, that Apple is trying to curate Apple Arcade. However, I just think generally Apple Arcade should be one of those things where maybe sometime in the future, as their game library develops, maybe Apple includes a method for you to search within Apple Arcade, which would be nice, as Google allows you to have search functionality within the entirety of their application. As you can see here, there's currently no way to search within Apple Arcade. Anyways, that has been my review of Apple Arcade. If there's any games you saw in here that you'd like me to play and review for you guys, feel free to comment that down below, hit that like button, and subscribe if you haven't. This has been Elder Neuron. Peace.